Hey there, it's Ozzy Lopez with Keller Williams Realty, and in this video, we're going to go over how to strategically go from having your very first rental property to going and building your rental portfolio, having more investment properties. So, congratulations if you're watching this video, you got your first one, right? Meaning you have the home that you live in, and you bought another home, which is the one that you use to rent out, so that that tenant can pay it off for you with just basically letting them live there. So I love that about real estate, by the way. And then, okay, so how do you position yourself so that you can buy another one? Let's talk about that. So I have a client that asked me, hey, Ozzy, there are other mortgage tools like, or debt tools like a home equity line of credit, right? So she asked me, hey, Ozzy, what if we have some extra money? Let me go ahead and put here the dollar sign. What if we have some extra money? Can I put that towards my rental property so that this, by the way, this blue pie represents the mortgage, right? So when you bought your property, you bought it not cash. Most likely, you got a loan, a some type of mortgage, 15-year or a 30-year mortgage, which is perfectly fine. That's normal. That's a good thing. But let's say you have extra money every month or every few months, and you just want to inject it into the rental properties and pay off the principal faster. What you would originally be doing, and where's my eraser? Here we go. What you would originally be doing is you would be chopping that down, that principle, you would be chopping that down and chopping that down and chopping that down, increasing your equity right here, right? You now have this white space represents the equity you now gained because you've reduced the mortgage, meaning how much you own. So now that we understand that, what a home equity line of credit does is they basically get you back in debt. They basically get you back in debt. So let's say you get a home equity line of credit you for, let's say, $50,000. So now this home equity line of credit, which is a HELOC, let's say you borrow 50,000, you are now back in debt for that 50,000, but yes, you now have that money, that cash that probably you can grab that 50,000 and put it towards a down payment here, right? That makes sense. Let's reborrow some money from this equity to use that money to buy a second one. That's not a terrible strategy, but I'm not a fan of that strategy. Why? A couple things. I feel like it's helping you as you have extra money and you inject it to this property and you get more equity. By you getting a home equity line of credit, you're now going back into more debt, which to me goes against what I like, which is reducing debt. I don't mind that you bought a property with debt to start off. I don't mind that at all. But I think the goal should be to reduce debt overall. So when you get a home equity line of credit, you are basically getting back into debt. And guess what? When you buy this one, you're having another big blue circle, right? So I don't want you to have this big blue circle with now this purple piece, which is a fancier type of debt, and then another big blue circle over here on your second property. Let's reduce those circles so they're smaller. Let's reduce the debt. So this is what I would recommend. Instead of putting that extra money you may have, those extra funds, into paying this mortgage off, I would instead redirect them. Smudgy, here we go. Instead, I would redirect them and put them in this bucket right here, which is basically a savings account. Let this start to fill in and have a savings where you're now aiming to fill up this bucket so you have enough savings for your, you've guessed it, down payment. So that when you buy this home, now, man, this is super colorful. I hope you guys can see it with the glare. There we go. So now when you buy this home, guess what? you're almost doing the same thing over here, because this money now allowed you to have this down payment towards this immediate equity. Does that make sense? So I do not recommend you use your extra money to make this smaller so that you later get a HELOC. I don't recommend that. It's a strategy. You probably could do it, but I would rather you use that money to build up a fund so that you can use that fund as your down payment for rental property number 2. That way, this blue part right here, let me show you this. Let's say you never got that HELOC. You never got that HELOC. All you did is you just build up a funds over here for your down payment. Look at this big white space. Isn't that beautiful, being a little bit more debt free, or getting closer to that path of being debt free? So I would say do not borrow against that property again. I would rather you use that money to focus it over here for a down payment fund, and let this slowly get paid off. The only time you really should consider messing around with this mortgage is when you might be able to refinance it for a lower rate. But the way that rates have been in the last couple of years, they've been so juicy, for lack of better words, that I wouldn't even really mess around with it. I mean, the rate better be like a 1% difference in order for you to really mess around with it. If you have a 3%, 2% interest rate with your mortgage, I would say you're good. So let that be. Put that extra money into a fund over here, and then you can, when you do have enough. Now, how much is enough? That's probably the next question in this video. How big does that bucket need to be so that I can afford the down payment for my rental property number 2, right? So typically, a rule of thumb would be 20% of 20% of the actual value of that home. So if this home is 400,000, what's 20% of that, you guys? 80K. That would be your down payment right there. Can you guys see it with the glare? Yeah, you can. So if you get a $400,000 home, 20% of that, if my math is correct, it's $80,000. So your bucket would be $80,000, and when you fill it up and you have 80, you're pretty much good to buy your next rental property. And that's just a general idea, right? If you get something smaller, like 200,000, then guess what? You only need half of that, which is around 40. Now, of course, there's an extra cost like closing costs and loan origination and escrow and title, and that if you have 80K, I'm pretty sure you'll have enough to do closing costs as well. So we'll worry about that as we get closer to that filling up that bucket. But for now, I just wanted to give you an overall strategy on how you can prepare to get your next rental property. Basically, it's by starting a fund that allows you to put 20% on the next rental property. That way you have enough, right here, enough equity on both of these properties, so that, here's with a why, and then we're done with this video, so that if the market ever takes a dip, and you know markets in any in any industry, they can take a dip. If they do take a dip and the value dips, you have enough equity that you're not worried about being underwater. What does underwater mean? Meaning that you have too much debt for what the home is worth. All right. If you let this die down, not die down, but if you let this get paid off with time, whether it's the 15 or 30 years, you're gonna get more equity automatically, so that in the future, when the market does take a dip, you're not underwater. That's what happened to a lot of people in 2008. Their blue pie was so big, their blue pies were so big that when the markets took a dip, everybody was underwater, so they had to do what? Short sell, right? They had to then let the lenders foreclose. So I don't recommend you do that. Do not over leverage yourself, I guess, is the moral of this story in this video. Hopefully this helped. If you have any questions and you want to strategically talk about your situation, or kind of see, this is an overall general view, right? But if you want to strategically and get into detail about your specific situation, just give me a call. We'll set up an appointment and we'll definitely see how we can help manage your real estate wealth. Talk to you soon, and bye-bye.